Albuquerque, 50 miles from here, is, in my experience, because I moved here 10 years ago, it's the land that Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul built. And I work in the film business, so that's what brought it all here. And I know it's in other cities too, but I know for damn sure here in Better Call Saul world that when you drive up and down the interstate in the middle of town, there are these billboards for lawyers, one in particular, and his name is... And so I understand that you have a trophy from... Do you still have it? Is it in an attic somewhere? What's up?
No, man. I don't know what happened to that trophy. Actually, it was just a certificate, and and it just gave me free breakfast at the bar. I remember that. I had free breakfast for a month, I believe.
Okay.
But other than that, it just gave me just amount
in recognition of what? What had you done to get free food?
Oh man, I was like, I was an outstanding doorman. I was very helpful to the ladies. I was
a doorman, like on Central Park West in New York with the epaulets and
to
stuff.
the Patriots.
You were a
Patriots. I'm sorry.
You were a bouncer in a gentleman's club.
In a gentleman's club, yeah.
You were a notable bouncer in a gentleman's club.
Yeah, and not only that, but I was only 18 years old at the time.
No, I didn't know that part.
Yeah, I was a minor doing that, and believe it or not, I was supposed to be working at the Ramada Inn because I was living at my mom's house, and she was telling me, she was believing I was going to work at the Ramada Inn, and in fact, I was going to work at this gentleman's club up the street.
Look at that.
Same attire, same vest, same shirt, same bow tie, and played it off, and it kind of led into the whole challenge of me leading a double life. As a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Very
significant. Yeah. I've seen double lives take people out.
Yeah.
This ain't Sunday school, but as soon as we're living, a double life.
Right.
We're not good at that.
Right. And that's one thing for me. In pursuit of long-term recovery, that has continued to come up. Where in my life am I not just simply being precious child of God, and steps 6 and 7 really give me an opportunity to look at that today. And it's funny because after I'm done with you, I get a chance to speak on step 6 in a meeting on Zoom after this. So it's really, really interesting how everything's just kind of lining up.
Dude, 6 and 7. I don't know that we've talked. We're almost on 60 episodes of this show, and I don't remember 6 and 7 getting leaned into really hard. And I'm a big 6 and 7 guy because I think it's all the other shit.
Right.
They say in our 12-step program, come for the drinking, stay for the thinking. Here I am, 31 years without the thought of catching a buzz, but I got all this other stuff.
Right.
That. Not only do I have to look backwards, but I gotta stay in today.
Right.
And if it's food, if it's relationship with my sweetheart, if it's cutting corners at work, all these things that you don't think you're gonna do them, then you go, God damn it, I just did it. I got to put that right. What do we do here? To me, that's all 6 and 7.
And, and I'm 3 years into this, right? So I'm fairly new, even though I've been around the block a few days longer than that.
Yeah.
So, the epiphanies of when I'm trying to do old behavior and when it's pointed out, hey, you no longer have to do that anymore because you're established in step work here, is really gratifying for me. It's really assuring that, again, this thing is working. This thing is actually working for me.
And if I'm still doing it, it's not old behavior.
Right.
And you don't think you're going to... It's like yelling at your kid. You go, I don't yell at my kids. Then you find yourself yelling at your kid. And I promised myself I wasn't going to do this.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to circle back around to something I know nothing about, and that's being... somebody who can beat a man's ass. I haven't been in a fight since 8th grade, and those were schoolyard, children's scuffles. So you're an accomplished martial artist?
Yes, I'm a black belt in Gracie Barra Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's taken me 13 years to acquire the black belt, to achieve the black belt status. And this year I'm up for a promotion. I'll have done this as a black belt for 3 years now. Opened up 5 different schools, 2 in Missouri, 3 here in New Mexico. And I'm currently employed out of Gracie Baja, Los Alamos. And I can't tell you what an attribute to recovery that practice is for me.
Tell me. Go.
Well, we talk a lot about, recovery of the mind, body, and spirit. And in order for me to practice and learn jiu-jitsu, I have to be, of sound body, sound mind, sound breath, or else it's just as frustrating and I'm getting smashed even by a smaller person. Recovery, I want to say recovery kind of gave me that introduction of, surrendering to something bigger than me, which was my instructor at the time, which was this team. Recovery showed me, the concept of, putting others first before myself to achieve a common goal, which was something that I, again, learned in recovery. And that's something that applies to everyday team building, whether it's a jiu-jitsu team or a football team or even a team of volunteers at a coffee bar, So
much to talk about there. I want to make this about me because that's what I do. I was in a movie 10 years ago, and, so that puts me in my early 50s. And I'm a little guy, and I've never whipped anybody's ass in my life. And one of the other actors in this movie I came to have a strong dislike for, egomaniac. I just had a belly full of his. He wasn't very talented. He just rubbed my feathers the wrong way. Well, for the rap party, they put together. It was like a novelty. What do they call it in Japan? The big fat guys wrestling.
Oh, sumo wrestlers.
Sumo wrestling. Have you seen this where you put on these fat suits that make you about
great.
6 feet around and a ring that's basically a bouncy house? Everything's really fluffy and flubby, and you can't get your footing, and the ropes are made out of nothing. They're made out of big fat soft nerve rubber. So you can sort of go at it. And they put me in the ring with this kid. I say kid. He was 25. I was 55. And I'm like, well, I'm going to send this little fucker flying. Dude, he picked me up and tossed me and picked me up and tossed me. It was like he threw me around like a donut. I never could get my footing. I never could get my hands on him. And I'm so tired. I'm about to cry. And I've never forgotten that. I'm like, I'm just not tough. I just can't. And I'm telling you, I had all the mental intention of, I was there. I was ready to whip some ass. You can't really, but I was ready to do to him what he did to me effortlessly because he was young and strong and I'm old and soft as baby shit. Yeah. What you said a minute ago about having to surrender to a power greater than yourself. Some people, I got sober in Los Angeles. A lot of people talk about the ocean because if you've ever stood waist deep in the Pacific and that stuff slaps you down, it's like, I got nothing. I got no game here. I can't win this one at all. That is kind of one way to ease into this. I'm not the king of the world. Right,
exactly. It was a quite a humbling experience, actually.
Now, jiu-jitsu has been described to me as grappling. Would you agree with that?
It is grappling. We use angles and leverage to achieve goals. To submit the opponent using different chokeholds and joint locks. Yeah, if I'm
chokeholds and joint locks. Yeah. This sounds like y'all aren't kidding around.
Yeah,
by the time it's time to get to engage,
it is probably the most effective martial art on the planet, right? I remember Joe Rogan doing an interview and somebody asking him, what is the practical use of, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? And he says, well, Sherm, if you and I were get into a fight, I could kill you. And it's that, there's something about, being able to keep me and my family safe. Although there's also something behind the principle that I teach my children, the kids, students, and it's avoid the fight at all cost.
Yeah.
Right. When we put on the jiu-jitsu belts, whether it's a white belt or a black belt, we're not putting it on to be the assailant. We're putting it on to be the person of service. Just like exactly what recovery has shown you.
And you and I are friends and co-workers, and I've known you for about 10 years, and I've worked alongside you for a while, and I have seen you display what seems to be a very placid, calm, unflappable deal. Is that a front inside? Are you holding the reins in?
No, man. Again, that's the gift of recovery for me. That's the change in body, mind, and spirit that's like currently happening as I'm actively working the program. There's something happening. I recently recovered from a broken foot, which prior to that I did a 5th step. Again, mind you, I just got about 3 years of recovery, and then I was given the opportunity to make some amends, right? And then go back to step 4. and what I'm getting at is that the individual that is in front of you today is somebody who is, again, as a result of working the steps, is starting to get that release from selfishness, that those shortcomings starting to get taken away from, slowly but surely.
What did you mean? Because I find this interesting. You said you broke your foot, and then you kind of mentioned the 5th step and amends and stuff. Tell me what you mean by tying those things together.
So, what I'm trying to get at and tying it all together is prior to recovery, I was a very agitated, aggressive individual. I was not somebody who could problem solve very easily without getting hot-headed or resentful. The broken foot forced me to slow down and really work on my internal program of action, working with other people.
Because you couldn't get around so hot? You couldn't do the things?
I had to ask for help.
Okay,
yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
Ego is in that too?
The ego is in that a lot. Yeah, and so again,
and you were hobbled for, I don't know, weeks or months. It was a long time.
About 2.5 months.
Yeah. So you had to really sit with those feelings, right?
So I had to sit with all of that, and not only just sit with it, but actually, work the program through that. And again, so what's happening is like a piece of coal. There's this like diamond coming out of that in character, right? And how I respond and react to life today. As towards before, what brought me to jiu-jitsu initially was I would respond and react to life with violence and frustration.
When did you start studying formally? How old were you?
This was about 17 years ago.
17 years ago. Okay. Yeah. So when you were hired to be a bouncer, you're a big, tough looking guy. Has that affect you when you were a high schooler and stuff?
Absolutely, it created my identity. In
a good way, or in a people taking you on?
In a way that it isolated me from me and my fellows. And again, jiu-jitsu and recovery was that threshold, if you would, to recapturing fellowship with others.
I want to back up. So when I was 16, I was 5'6" and 130 pounds. What were your dimensions when you were in high school?
I was 6'1", 240 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah, I was.
And so what?
So I grew up, playing sports. I grew up wrestling, playing football, things like that.
Where?
Here in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Okay.
Santa Fe High School.
All right, so you must have been a prize to them. I mean, not everybody's that big around. It's not like you're in Chicago or LA where there's millions of people.
Yeah, it's something, because again, it does take me back to, first grade, to where I'd always been a part of, sport team activities, always a part of a group.
Did you have the knack? Were you talented at sports?
I was.
Okay.
Yeah, I was, at baseball, at basketball, at football. And then again, around the puberty ages, when I started to find release of and care and boredom and alcohol, I started to kind of choose that path rather than the path of my peers and my sporting friends. And I got to tell you what, at Santa Fe High School in 92 through 95, those poor kids, I mean, we didn't win one game in the football season all 4 years. So it was really kind of discouraging, you know what I mean? So, when jiu-jitsu came around, it was just a perfect opportunity to, again, how would I say, get that feeling of camaraderie with the team, to get that, to start achieving goals usefully and in a positive manner. That was something that was new to me too,
All right, but you ended up working at titty bars. Here's the honest to God's truth. My hand to God on this one. I don't like those places.
Right.
The reason I don't like them, I always feel like I'm in Tony Soprano's turf and that something bad's about to happen, and it's just a way to extract money out of me, and that's not my favorite thing. I'm not a cheapskate, but I find those places frightening and they make me unhappy. Yeah. And so what? You're about to say something. What?
Yeah, no, I mean, for a person my age, I'm 46 years old today, and I grew up with, like Baywatch, and I grew up with, all these outside influences of, again, to be in that environment was such a rite of passage, so to speak, for me. It was, it built my character to what I thought I wanted to be at that time, and I don't know what it was. I think I was just lost at that time, Now in recovery, again, I don't really desire contributing to anything like that causes harm to anybody like that, and that's where I say
but you were a teenage, not sober.
Right.
I'm going to guess idiot. Yes. I was an idiot. I don't know if you were, but I was.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So what was it like?
It was glamorous. I mean,
easy? Did you have to not do much? You stand there?
My first night, I had to clear the hallway because there was a member of a biker club. That drew a Colt 45 out in front of the crowd, and and I had to slam the door shut and close the bulletproof door behind it and clear the hallway.
The bulletproof door.
Yeah, so that was my first night of interaction with that, and then we finished the night. I remember with one of the dancers asked me if I could help her do some extra work afterwards as an escort around town. So we would actually stay working till about 4 or 5 in the morning.
Are you saying like bachelor party pop out of a cake stuff and you're there to get them home to their babysitter and shit? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So to me it was I had arrived. I mean, I was 18 years old. I didn't have to present an ID. I mean, in a phone call I can have a van full of beautiful ladies to entertain people. Personified this ego, this identity for me that again has been very hard to let go of.
I see.
Yeah. And I went on to manage other bars in Albuquerque, New Mexico from that to where, again, it was important for me to...
Just bars?
Yeah.
Just drinking bars?
Drinking bars,
right.
But again, to have that status of power, of prestige, was really important for me.
Now, did you... I drank alcoholically from a really young age. Did you, or did it take a while to get its hooks in you?
No, it happened to me at a very young age. Right. Anything that I got a hold of,
Yeah.
Was
me too. So you're there, just. I mean, look, there's an understandable misconception among people who aren't prone to addiction. The trick is to keep us away from that shit. Well, look, every gas station, every grocery store, is absolutely, just it's for sale everywhere. And so keeping what you can do, keep me out of gas stations and grocery stores, that's a hopeless approach. And so it's an inside job. However, being in your 20s working in a bar and you've got our deal, you've got our addiction propensity. How'd you get through your work shift? Were you a mess by the end of it, or?
I rarely got through any work shift sober. One of the best benefits for somebody in their cups is, being able to drink at a bar, being able to use at the bar, it being encouraged by the ownership and the other staff. Of course, like anything else that I did, I did it to excess, to the point to where, like every other avenue I reached, I was being asked to leave. So most nights I can't recall ever making it home sober. It was always a party. And that's, I think, again, I built a life then where, like, I felt like I wasn't working. I was just enjoying the party, Yeah.
Yeah, and the same judgment that gets impaired when we get a few Coca-Colas in us is the judgment we use to make decisions and to analyze. I'm fine. I'm fine.
Right.
To any outsider, you're not doing so fine.
Right.
So I think I have my story right. Correct me. That you got some years clean and sober. That ended. What happened there?
Yes. So, I'd been in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous for quite some time. Never really taken it seriously, and until recently, And this is where I really believe in a power greater than myself, because I had been at this for quite some time. I was in Missouri about 2.5 years ago.
All right.
When something actually started to take place where I was doing the work, my ego got smashed with help from a gentleman out there in a way that it never had before. I don't know. I was approachable, and I was about as willing as the dying can be. And people were looking at me, and I wasn't looking like a person that was coming off the streets or anything. But
so the outsides looked not
good,
too bad. Okay.
But when I spoke, it just spoke like as if I was unmanageable and delusional.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that. And as a matter of fact, I was correcting somebody in an AA meeting on their share. And somebody comes across the room and comes to me and checks on me. And I was kind of appalled at the time because I was not the one sharing out of line. It was this person. And he's begun to identify how, we'll see unmanageability. We'll see these defects of character, if you would, in others before we see them in ourselves. So life and the way that I was living it became very objectionable. A lot of the things that I was doing, like lying and stealing and cheating and working at the strip club, were no longer okay.
Okay.
The cash register honesty thing was no longer okay. I was still bartending for many years. As a matter of fact, when I knew you, I was bartending and still selling marijuana.
Okay.
And again, just constantly just trying to have it my way, and it just would never work until, again, I surrendered all those ideas.
Right.
And then that's when
because it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
That's the only thing that gets through to you and me, guys like us, is we'll try a bad idea not once or twice, 13,000 times. Right. It works 0 times, or maybe let's put it in the high 90%. 90%. It doesn't work. And you go, all right, I give up. What do you got? I really, fellas, I thought I had this. Turns out I don't have it.
Right.
And when you get into recovery, I think about this stuff, man. The only thing I know when I go into a 12-step meeting of people I don't know, say I'm traveling, the only thing I know for sure about these folks is that they fucked up everything they touched.
Right.
That's all I know for sure. And I'm going there going, what do you got? Because my best ideas aren't working with
and
the
here
day.
I am trying to hold on to one little thing, whatever it is, whether it's, I'm going to hold on to this selling the weed thing, or I'm going to hold on to, I go to AA meetings, but I'm going to go hang out at the strip club on weekends. One of the things that I heard in early on recovery that I wish I never heard is, you can do anything you want in AA so long as you don't drink. I took that to the races, man, literally.
Okay.
I would leave an AA meeting and I would go bet on the horses and go and cruise the streets.
I've got a picture of you on a custom chopper up and down Central, which, whatever city you're in, you can kind of picture what Central is like in Albuquerque. But sober or no?
So this was bouts of sobriety. Yeah. This was like, I would get, the most I've gotten was 6 years and then out, a couple of years and out, couple of years and out. And again, I would go as far as to get my feet in the water, but not submerge myself to, again, get the true benefits of what you all call long-term recovery.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a problem for me to quit. You tell me you're going to take that strip club job away from me, I'll quit. You tell me you're going to take my kid away from me, I'll quit.
Oh, okay.
But it's staying quit that I've always had a hard time with,
Look, my first sponsor said he never saw an addict get sober who didn't move their addiction to some other area.
Right.
So it's not like it sometimes happens. According to him, it always happens.
Right.
And I have seen, look, here's one I was thinking about this the other day because I qualify for so many. I've wrestled with food. I've wrestled with drugs. I've wrestled with alcohol. I qualify for a few fellowships, I would say. But here's one I don't qualify for. Never had a gambling problem. Don't remember the last time I played poker. Don't remember if I won or lost. Don't care if I ever play it again. I mean, I would happily join a $100 buy-in dollar ante game tonight with some fellas just for the hell of it.
Same.
But it never. There's one that never got its hooks in me, and I've seen it destroy people and families. I know it's no fucking joke. And I certainly understand, when you find something that puts that amount of fun through your body for about a half a second and you're like, well, I'm not saying it didn't come at a cost, but I'm doing that shit again.
Right.
That I 100% get that. It's just never involved cards and stacks of plastic chips.
Right. And again, the literature as well as I do, that again, that I'll find a new freedom and a new happiness. And I'll find that in my fellows in the service program that I do, in the service portion of the program that I do. And that's what's kind of making the difference today, is where I'm, metaphorically speaking, putting myself in the middle of the boat today. And that's what's different in my experience today than any other time that I've had.
I heard you tell your story recently. I've known you well, but you never know a guy the way you know him when they've done a half an hour share at a 12-step meeting. And a couple of things made me kidnap you and say he's coming on the show. And one of them was that your trophy from. And if you're in Albuquerque, y'all know exactly who I'm talking about. And if you're in some other town, you got your version. I could do we could go down that road if we wanted. But here's something that, at risk of cutting what I'm about to say out by your request when we're finished here, is this. You're my kind of alcoholic. You pulled out index cards. I love that. Those little, whatever, 3x5 ones with lines on them. And you said each one had an amends that you still owe. And you pulled one out of the pack and said, this one could land me in the jug. That's the real shit, brother. That is the real shit. I didn't come here to quit cussing. Or I would say in my first, I tried to never be an AA Romeo because I'm against that. I was raised to be a gentleman. But yeah, I was young and single and still had my looks. And now I had energy. I wasn't holed up in a basement somewhere. That's all I'm going to say about that. I dated around in my early days, whatever. Fucked up with food, fucked up with sort of, I would say, workaholism. I wasn't done with 6 and 7 stuff. But I was dead serious about finding out what amends I owed, with one or two ugly exceptions, running them past my sponsor. More on that some other time.
Right.
Those are high goddamn stakes for anybody and for people like us to have written down. I gotta go back to that beauty shop that my mom worked at and tell them I was the one taking 20s out of their. When a sponsee or a friend tells me that's what they were up to this weekend, that they had to drive 100 miles to pay somebody back a few $100 they stole, I get a hug, and that makes me feel like that some bitch is not going to drink today, because that's sticking your fingers in the fan. Yeah. And going back and putting it right when you're sober, oh boy, that hurts.
I remember being asked recently, when I got the sponsor about a year ago, how free do you want to be? Because they have AA meetings in recovery in prison too. And people get sober in prison every day too, Mario. And I said, wow, all right. So, again, by the grace of God, this gentleman has me looking at everything from an entirely different angle.
Yes.
And when I have a bright thought, I make sure to call and run it by him right away. And it's presented so much opportunity, not just, in my workplace, even with you, Sherm, just all over the place, to, again, see how I'm showing up today. And am I showing up charged full of that egoic Mario who wants to be that tough bouncer guy? Or am I showing up precious child of God, just another bozo on the bus in AA? And to me, that's more precious and more valuable to my family, to my coworkers, and my community than anything else I could be.
Buddy, I'm not going to top that for an out. We're out of time. God bless you. Thank you for coming in to do the show.
Awesome. Thank you, Sherm.
All right, pal.
Appreciate you.
You know what that music means. We're out of time.